He can fight, yeah. For boxers his level, yes.
Meaning what? Not your level?
I do not believe so. No, not at all.
Mike Tyson recently attacked Jake Paul after Jake made bold claims about the November 15th fight. Paul accused Tyson of tarnishing his own legacy, alleging the fight was rigged and suggesting Tyson only fought due to financial need. These remarks angered Tyson, sparking backlash over Paul's controversial statements.
In the gym training. I'm boxing professional fighters. I'm just activity is great. I had 15 fights in 1 year when I was younger, and I think activity is great. But I'm prepared.
The man who's been a global icon for decades, Mike Tyson, is now being accused by Jake Paul of begging a YouTuber for cash, an absurd claim in itself. But let's take a moment here. Does Jake even understand the rules of boxing, or is he just making things up as he goes along? It's hard to say because, at this point, it's obvious Jake Paul has no clue what he's talking about. He's about to face the consequences of his reckless remarks. Ironically, the Tyson-Paul fight was the boxing match no one asked for, but everyone ended up watching.
Getting back in the ring, he's 58 years old. He's facing off against YouTuber turned boxer, 27-year-old Jake.
When news broke that 57-year-old Mike Tyson would step into the ring with 27-year-old Jake Paul, the internet collectively raised its eyebrows. Was this a legitimate fight or the strangest midlife crisis ever? Even before the opening bell, critics were dismissing it as a circus. The age gap wasn't the only issue. On one side was Tyson, a boxing legend, and on the other, Jake Paul, a social media star turned boxer whose biggest strength is trending on Twitter. The matchup felt like mixing vintage wine with cheap soda. Then Jake added fuel to the fire with his absurd financial rescue theory, claiming Tyson begged for the fight because he needed the payday. Really, Jake? The same Tyson who's built a booming cannabis empire and likely has more money in his couch cushions than you do in your crypto wallet. Fans were outraged, slamming Jake's disrespectful narrative as completely out of touch.
An alleged script leak. This has not been confirmed. Take it with a grain of salt. No one knows if this is real.
Just as the hype around the fight was dying down, a leaked script surfaced, and it wasn't some random Reddit rumor. It was a detailed, round-by-round breakdown of how the fight was allegedly supposed to unfold. Tyson would start strong with his iconic bob and weave. Jake would survive the early storm, and by round 5, Tyson would hit the mat after a perfectly timed right hook. It sounded like something straight out of a Hollywood writer's room. Fans were stunned by how specific the script was and how disturbingly close it came to reality. Tyson looked slower, Jake appeared sharper, and even the detail about Tyson getting cut above the eye matched. Suddenly, the fight felt less like an authentic boxing match and more like WrestleMania with a much better PR strategy.
Love Mike, and despite what he said in that interview with the girl about the legacy, we love him and his legacy.
Meanwhile, Tyson remained unusually quiet. No fiery denials, no public outbursts. It was almost as if he was letting the rumors swirl or perhaps working behind the scenes to uncover who leaked the alleged script. If a non-disclosure agreement was in play, someone was in serious trouble. But Jake, being Jake, couldn't resist stirring the pot. On his podcast, he casually mentioned that he eased off during the fight to avoid hurting Tyson, because apparently key asterisk was the real threat. That comment exploded faster than one of Tyson's uppercuts. Was Jake admitting the fight was staged? Was he just bragging? Or worse, was he too oblivious to realize he might have just let slip a career-ending secret? By now, the Tyson-Paul fight had spiraled from merely controversial to outright legendary, for all the wrong reasons. Fans weren't just questioning the integrity of the match. They were rewriting the entire storyline in their minds, turning the fight into a bizarre, chaotic saga.
Exactly. I started, to matter of fact, thank you. I started Jake Paul off.
Mike Tyson's patience snapped faster than Jake Paul's claims of being a legitimate boxer. After weeks of hearing rigging accusations and watching the ridiculous leaked fight script spread like wildfire, Tyson finally hit back, and not with his fists. In an interview with Fox Sports Radio, the former heavyweight champ dismissed the rumors, firmly declaring it was a real fight. He didn't just say it, he practically growled it, daring anyone to question whether getting punched 78 times was part of some elaborate conspiracy. Tyson wasn't merely brushing off the allegations, he was furious. His point was simple and brutally clear. You don't fake waking up the next morning feeling like you've been run over by a cement truck. The message? Whatever people believed, Tyson had earned every bruise, proving the fight was anything but scripted.
The legacy. Legacy to me means ego. Who the is about my legacy? I'm gonna be dead soon one day. But he's not gonna.
This wasn't just about physical pain. Tyson's real fury stemmed from the damage the rigging rumors did to his legacy. For a man who fought his way to legendary status, the idea of his career being tarnished by a leaked fight script felt like a slap in the face with brass knuckles. The viral script, which read like a rejected Rocky sequel, added an asterisk to his accomplishments, and Tyson wasn't having it. Behind the scenes, things got even murkier. Insiders whispered about the existence of a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, the kind plastered with bold, all-caps warnings about serious legal consequences. If true, this would have barred anyone from revealing anything that made the fight seem less than 100% authentic, and yet Jake Paul, in true Jake Paul fashion, couldn't help himself. On his podcast, he casually claimed he eased off during the match, as if he were a benevolent boxing god sparing Tyson. It wasn't just cocky. It was potentially NDA-breaking cocky. Sources suggested Tyson was ready to unleash his legal team if the NDA existed, believing Jake had crossed a line thicker than his boxing gloves. For Tyson, this wasn't just about the fight. It was about protecting the brand he had spent decades building, the same one Jake was now dragging through the mud for clicks and clout.
Back to the pain game today. We're going to talk Darren Till versus Tommy Fury / John Fury, of course. But first, some more important and quite serious news in the combat sports world. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. It's come out now. It was rigged. I can't believe it. You know, you have to question the validity of boxing these days when you can't trust two professionals to get in the ring and do their best against each other. And instead you find out Mike Tyson pulling his punches, not trying to hurt Jake Paul. Absolute disgrace. I thought better of them. You know, I really did. I thought that Mike Tyson especially, Iron Mike, he was just going to go in there and knock Jake clean out. But here he is, not trying. I'm so disappointed in him. But you don't need...
The fight itself only added fuel to the controversy. Statistically, Jake Paul outperformed Mike Tyson in nearly every category. 78 punches landed compared to Tyson's mere 18. On paper, it looked like a masterclass in boxing domination. But there was one glaring issue. It was Mike Tyson the man who used to knock out legends with fewer punches on his worst days. Watching Tyson struggle to land even a few clean shots felt like seeing Superman lose a wrestling match to SpongeBob. However, ringside footage painted a different picture. From the crowd's perspective, the hits looked brutal and painfully real. Tyson didn't resemble a man playing a scripted role. He looked like someone desperately trying to reclaim his former glory while his body begged him to stop. His once iconic bob and weave had turned into a sluggish shuffle, and his punches came at the pace of a buffering YouTube video. Even Tyson himself admitted something was off. He confessed to blanking out mid-fight, a revelation that raised more questions than answers. Was it exhaustion, age, or something deeper no one had seen coming? Whatever the cause, Tyson's sluggish performance only added credibility to the conspiracy theories swirling around the fight. Even if the truth might have been far less dramatic, the undeniable toll of time catching up to a legend.
That changed when Paul clenched with Tyson. It's alleged he whispered into Tyson's ear to cool.
Then came the aggression factor. Ringside analysts noticed something intriguing. Jake Paul wasn't holding back. He was throwing punches with bad intentions, landing sharp combinations, and even cutting Tyson above the eye. Jake's competitive streak was in overdrive, as if he'd forgotten he was supposed to be an entertainer and started fighting like a man desperate for legitimacy. And the root of all this? Money. Jake Paul, never one to miss an opportunity to stir the pot, claimed Mike Tyson approached him out of financial desperation. According to Jake, Tyson needed the fight to avoid his bank account hitting rock bottom. It was a bold claim, one that added more controversy to an already divisive match.
Tell you about it. At the time, I wanted to do a pay-per-view roast, like it was a boxing match, and they'd said, "Oh yeah, Mike could make $20 million."
Then there's the juicy pay-per-view (PPV) debate. Industry insiders whispered that both fighters walked away with hefty seven-figure paydays. But did Tyson feel shortchanged? Maybe. If Jake Paul pocketed more thanks to his internet clout, it would have been an added sting to Tyson's already bruised pride. Imagine spending decades building a legendary career only to be out-earned by a guy famous for pranking strangers on YouTube. Ouch. The real question is, was Tyson's return to the ring a strategic business move or a desperate grasp at glory? Some say he wanted one last taste of the spotlight before retiring for good, or to prove that even at 57, he could still rearrange someone's face. But stepping into the ring with Jake Paul wasn't just risky. It was like a retired lion challenging a loudmouthed hyena. Tyson might have seen it as an easy payday, but he clearly underestimated how far Jake would go for clout. Social media didn't hold back either. Fans roasted Jake for allegedly disrespecting Tyson, accusing him of milking the fight for publicity while tarnishing a living legend's name. Memes, think pieces, and angry tweets flew like punches in a street brawl. In the court of public opinion, Jake wasn't just a villain. He became the final boss of boxing trolls.
And that is the money. He's getting paid so much money to do this. So that tells me he's getting bought. So again, it is sad that someone like Mike Tyson...
Rumor has it Tyson didn't just walk away from the fight. He stormed off, leaving a trail of blistering words aimed directly at Jake Paul. Insider sources claim Tyson unloaded a verbal knockout during a private post-fight conversation, telling Jake to stop ruining his legacy and keep his name out of his clout-chasing mouth. Classic Tyson, sharp, direct, and ready to bite back. There's even speculation that Tyson's team is considering legal action for potential contract violations. If Jake really did hint at fight fixing on his podcast, he might have broken the golden rule of celebrity fights. Asterisk don't talk about the script. Asterisk Tyson's lawyers are reportedly watching closely, ready to pounce if Jake keeps running his mouth. So, what does all this chaos mean for the future of boxing? Has the sport crossed the point of no return, where hype and headlines matter more than skill and legacy? Can boxing survive when fights feel more scripted than spontaneous? Most importantly, how long until fans stop tuning in altogether, tired of wondering whether they're watching a real contest or just another pay-per-view soap opera? The ring was once where legends were forged, but now it's starting to look more like just another stage.